Here's the hard question. How did you support yourself?
Before the internet, nobody knew I could dance unless they saw me dance.
True.
So you have to travel and go to places.
Go
Now
places.
you can just sit in one spot and travel all over the world, never go anywhere.
Right.
It was creating a rep, letting people know that I got busy. It was battling, just getting your name, getting your name up. And that was the struggle, going to clubs and wrecking. MTV started showing rap videos.
I see.
Because now I'm constantly seeing dancers doing the same stuff we're doing in the club, but they're on TV.
Uh-huh.
So I'm thinking to myself, I could be on TV doing this best we do in clubs. I want to do that. Or I was the highest paid dancer who taught in Philly.
Uh-huh.
I hustled more than anybody. Started at 50, some I started at 60, but for the most part, I was getting $100 a class. 75 a class, or that 45.
Okay.
So I was killing.
When was that, by the way?
When?
Yeah.
That was between 2001 and 2000. How much is that a month? How much is that a week? How much is that a day?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Let me work this out. So I was like, okay, I need to make this amount of money per day to make that a year.
Sure.
So I knew what I needed to work, which was why I was 23 classes. So it was like, okay, I'm going to Mississippi or we're going to Minnesota or whatever.
Well, he just told you this. I'm going to charge you for that. So for me, my question is, what did you do? Obviously, you said that you just kept going at it,
Yeah.
but here's the hard question: how did you support yourself? You got to make
I figured it out.
ends to meet.
Figured it out. I've had. It was so in my younger years, my early 20s, my teens and my 20s is when I was trying to pursue a career, just working jobs, dancing on the weekend.
So in America, being a dancer is hard. I mean, not just in America.
Well,
I think around the world.
Now it's much easier.
You think so?
Yeah.
Why? I know we're jumping, but it's okay. We'll come back.
No, it's the internet, the social media makes it a lot easier. You can become famous without nobody knows you. You can just blow up and become famous, and you have access to so many more people who can see you. Before the internet, nobody knew I could dance unless they saw me dance.
True.
So you have to travel and go to places.
Go places.
Now you can just sit in one spot and then travel all over the world, never go anywhere.
Right.
So everybody sees it. And then even now, dance has been raised to a level where because of hip hop in the 80s and music videos and whatnot, it's created a lane for dancers to have a job. Before hip hop, everything was like ballet, modern dancing. But with hip hop, it was like, okay, let's look at these social dances a little bit more. And again, now you just have more access. People are looking to have dancers. Back then, it was convincing them. The movies didn't care if they had dancers in there, or they were looking for ballet and modern and whatnot.
Right.
But it's a lot easier to get that job now than it was when I was growing up, because the visibility you can have of creating something yourself and going on TikTok and being seen, and because the market is such that if you become known at a TikTok station, a YouTube, whatever, now when you go looking to go to that audition, they're sitting behind a table going through your social media. Like, oh my God, this person has 10 million followers. Hire them.
Right.
Because that's 10 million people that's going to now probably come to our shows. So it's a whole different market. It's a whole different way of getting in. You didn't have it like that when I was coming back.
So what was the struggles that you had to go through being in your 20s? Were you in Philly still, or you moved?
I was still in Harrisburg.
Okay.
It was creating a rep, letting people know that I got busy. It was battling, just getting your name, getting your name up, and that was the struggle. Going to clubs and wrecking, just doing your thing, battling and whatever, and everybody needs to know you.
Was it mainly in Philly, or you also traveled to New York, or?
I started going to New York to clubs in I think 89, 90.
Okay.
But we were going to clubs in Philly, we were going to clubs in Baltimore, we were going to clubs in DC, in New Jersey, and then a lot of towns that were near us in between all those states. So we're going wherever we can go. So
I understand that you need to, make your name, let people see, battle through all those, the toughest, the toughest racket of all the competitors and all that. But what's the end game? Once you've done that, let's say you have made your name, you're already there. Everybody knows Marcel. Then what?
Well, for then, my goal was, the only reason I wanted to do it for a job. I mean, Michael Jackson influenced me before hip hop or chasing all that.
Sure.
And so the only reason, and I didn't want a career as a dancer. I was just like dancing.
Okay.
But I started thinking about a career in dance once MTV started showing rap videos.
I see.
Because now I'm constantly seeing dancers doing the same stuff we're doing in the club, but they're on TV. So I'm thinking to myself, like, you mean I can be on TV doing this mess we do in the clubs? I want to do that. And I would always see, you know, everybody had their dancers, right? Coolsy Rap and Polo had Kevin and Sean. Big Daddy Kane had Scoob and Scrap Lover. This one got this one. Latifah got hers. And Light got leg one. Like, so everybody got their dances, but Mop Top danced for anybody. They didn't dance for one particular artist. So even though Heavy D had the boys, you still saw Stretch and Link in his video. And then you would see them in Diana Ross video, and in Dougie Fresh video, and in this video, and that. They were everywhere. And that's when I was like, I want to dance with them.
So you're saying like Mop Top is the only crew that danced for everybody?
At that time that I can remember,
Really?
they didn't dance for one particular artist. You saw them in more videos than anybody else.
Was it because they were so good
I don't know.
that they're not signing any of the exclusive contract? Was there any artist be
I
like,
have no idea. Like,
that's a question for Link and Stretch and
yeah, like I
Okay.
know, you know, some of them out of Mop Top, out of Misfits, dance for Ziggy. So, but they weren't exclusive to any artist.
So for you, you're like, oh my God, like you can do that?
Yeah,
Like,
I keep seeing them. I see them more than anybody else.
okay.
So
okay.
that's what made me want to do it for a career.
Okay.
And then I met Stretch in '92, and he came to my town to perform with CeCe Peniston. And I approached him on the bus before the show, and we exchanged numbers. He was really cool and gave me all his math, and was like, stay in contact. And he was like, move to New York, and I'll hook you up. But I wasn't about to move to New York City. No. I do not. Well, first of all, now I don't even like New York City.
Why is that?
I just don't like it. It's too active for me. It's too chaotic. It's super fast paced, and while I did all that, I did all I wanted to do in New York City, and it just doesn't appeal to me anymore. I mean, it's a beautiful city.
Sure.
It's an amazing city. Go visit, but would I want to live there? Not in a million years.
But you did have the opportunity that Stretch presented to you.
Yeah, but I didn't. At the time, I couldn't fathom how people live in New York City because it's super expensive, and I was like, I didn't trust the process of Stretch putting me on as a dancer, that I'm gonna be able to afford rent on my own, because I'm not living with somebody else.
Right.
I've never. The only people I've ever shared an apartment with were my girlfriend. Other than that, I'm not living with anybody. That's not going to happen.
Right.
And so I was like, yeah, I don't know.
So you wanted to do what Stretch had done.
But I wasn't moving to New York City.
Okay.
So I moved to Philly.
Then what'd you do?
So in Philly, in Harrisburg, I worked at an art supply store, and I can't think of her name now, but the woman I worked with, her and her husband owned some apartments in Philadelphia. So they showed me one. It was like, hey, they gave it to me really cheap, and I could move there. I moved to Philly. I had less than $400 in my pocket.
Oof.
And I found a job, and I started working for Rennie Harris Pure Movement.
Okay, Rennie Harris.
But that didn't pay at the time. So I'm doing this job, and until that starts paying. And then I did that, and then I started teaching. I'm kind of condensing all this down, but I started teaching, and teaching became a large part of my income, along with doing the jobs with Rennie. And so that's how I sustained myself, is doing that. And even then, I had some highs and lows. Sometimes the money wasn't there, and sometimes it was there. But
did you have like another part-time job that you had to?
Not when I kicked dancing in full gear. It was dancing. So I was the highest paid dancer who taught in Philly. I hustled more than anybody.
A lot of classes, okay.
Listen, I taught at one point for about 3 years. I taught 23 classes a week. 23. Nobody taught more classes than me, and nobody got the kind of pay that I got.
Yeah.
So while most studios were paying people $25, maybe $45.
Okay.
Right. I had one studio that paid me $45 only because I started with them when they opened.
Right.
So I was like, I'm never going to change my price for y'all. Like, I like y'all, whatever. Everybody else, some I started at 50, some I started at 60, but for the most part, I was getting $100 a class, 75 a class, or that 45.
Okay. So
I was killing.
When was that, by the way?
When?
Yeah.
That was between 2001 and 2000 and maybe 6 or 7 when I stopped teaching in studios because it was young kids.
Right.
And then I just focused on university. Now, I've been teaching at university since 2003. But the rate of my study and the interest in the conversations I wanted to have, you can't have that with a 12-year-old, 13, 15-year-old.
Right.
They want to dance and then do the showcase at the end.
Yeah.
I wasn't interested in that. So I had done that. I was kind of burnt out from doing 23 classes a week. And so I just focused on university. But I had gotten myself to a level where I could do that. But between, so I mapped out, this is what I did. We had phone books then. We don't have phone books now. So back then, I sat down and I said to myself, how much money do I want to make a year?
Okay. That's smart.
I wrote that down.
Right.
How much is that a month? How much is that a week? How much is that a day? Right? Let me work this out. So I was like, okay, I need to make this amount of money per day to make that a year.
Sure.
So I knew what I needed to work, which is why I was 23 classes. So it was like, okay, some days I taught 3 classes, some days I taught 7 classes, some days,
Sure.
So I was like, okay, even if I don't make that number on Monday, the classes I got on Tuesday is going to make up for Tuesday and Monday.
Sure. So you did the calculation. You're very meticulous about it. Okay.
Worked it out. I would be in phone books and getting new jobs. And when we were going tour with Rennie, we would get our itinerary about a week before we went to the gig. I would call, as soon as I got the itinerary, where are we going? Oh man, we going to Mississippi or we going to Minnesota or whatever? Get on the phone, find a hip hop dance studio in that area. I'm Montel there and I'm dancing with Rennie Hatcher Movement. We're going to be in town for doing the show. I can't give you tickets to the show, but I was like, come check the show out. And I would set up classes either while we were there or they would bring me back and teach classes. When most of the other dancers were just in their hotel chilling, I'm grinding, working. I'm making work happen.
Hey, this is not just work ethic, but this is not the wisdom.
Listen.
Like, you can't just be a dancer and made it being at Moncel's age and telling story like what he just told you. I'm going to charge you for that. Phone book. Well, nowadays there's no phone book, but there's a lot of other ways to do the same thing.
You can find
and it's much easier to find a list of the studios that you want to teach classes at. And then you did it the way that's very proactive. Instead of people inviting you to be like, hey, I'm going to be in town.
Yeah.
Do you want to make something happen, right?
I told the fattest lie the first year I started teaching. I told the fattest lie. And I asked Stretch for permission. I've never shared this with anybody.
Oh!
Never. I've never.
Stretch
is the only one that knows this.
Oh!
Because I asked him. I was like, dude, I knew that I was skilled enough and capable enough to teach these classes.
Okay.
But what I didn't have was a resume that said I did this work.
The credits.
Right.
Yes.
So I asked Stretch, I was like, dude, can I put some of y'all jobs down on this resume? And, Stretch ain't really care. He's like, yeah, whatever, go ahead. And so I did it. I did that for like a year, and then I stopped.
But did it help, though?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure it helped when they saw the resume.
Sure.
But what really helped is when they saw me, I could back it up.
I see. Fake it till you make it.
So my first year teaching, I was like, my resume was bullshit.
Some of the studio owners that be watching this video right now be like, I remember Marcel. Wait a minute, he didn't do that.
I don't even care because I knew what I was talking about, and I knew what I was doing.
Sure.
I knew the history and all that. So I'm like, I just need y'all to give me a shot.
Yes.
And if this helps me get a shot, and I know them, and I asked them first,
yeah.
I'm gonna run with that. And I did that for like a year, and then I stopped using that resume.
But it's important in the beginning that you felt like you needed to
I thought I needed
break to at least put your step it in and be like, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
But once they saw what you were capable of,
right?
Then they'd be like, okay, whatever, like, just do it. And then I don't think they will actually go back and be like, or check.
I mean, listen,
due diligence.
It wasn't like I wasn't friends with Stretch, so it's like I know this person.
Right.
Like I hang out with this person.
Yeah. And
I know the Electric Boogaloos. I know. I didn't put none of theirs. I only put down Stretch jobs that Stretch did.
Okay.
But I know. I'm like I run with these cats, so clearly I'm doing something. I'm not like I know them.
Yeah. So they did everything that they did, which you were capable of doing as well. You didn't do it, but you were able to at least, give the students what they were doing,
right?
Not through them, but through you,
right? Okay. And I put down like probably 4 videos that I was in with them that I wasn't in. But other than I didn't say that I was on no tours. Nothing.
Okay.
I just listed some videos that they did, and that was it. And then I had stuff I did with Rennie and other stuff I had did in my earlier days. So that was.
So it wasn't all like live, whatever. It was just like a small
those
bit
of. Those were like big artists.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, let me throw those on there.